Follow YouTube and Telegram channel at IELTS Research BD.
You will hear a man asking a renovation company for details on a renovation project. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, Shining Decorations. How can I help you?
Hello. We are thinking of renovating our hotel this year. It was built 15 years ago and it's quite old now, so I'm calling to see if your company can do that.
Oh, yes. We do all kinds of decoration and renovation projects. Last month, we just renovated the city library. The client was really pleased with the outcome.
Oh, really? I heard that one was pretty tough. But the new library does get a fresh look.
Yes, it was a tough one. May I have the name of your hotel?
Yes, it's Central Hotel. Should I tell you about some changes we want to make before you come and check it out?
Yes, please. I will write them down. Just a moment, please. Okay. What are the changes you want to make?
First, the address on our signboard in the front of the hotel is not big enough. We would like to have it enlarged.
I see. It's important for the guests to see the information clearly. No problem.
Okay. Next is our swimming pool. It's now in the basement. Our guests are not very happy about it. After talking to the designers, we've decided to move it to the roof of the hotel.
Oh, that's a big change, as it'll be an outdoor site, but I believe it's a wonderful idea.
Yes, our hotel is right beside a river, so it's got a good view from up there.
That's true. I'm sure more people would stay at your hotel because of it. It's a very competitive feature. We can do that for you.
We have a big lounge on the ground floor where our guests can rest. We don't think we are making the most of it, and my manager said we should use the room for reception. The old one is too small.
So you don't need an area for guests to rest?
The hall will serve the purpose.
All right, I've written it down. Anything else?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Let me see. I think the words on the notice board should be translated, but I'll need to confirm with my supervisor if we need to translate into Chinese or not. We have quite a lot of Chinese guests now, but Spanish translation is definitely needed. German is not necessary, neither is Japanese. We don't have many guests from those countries.
Okay, I'll just need to go and see how to plan the layout later.
Yes, please. We don't know if we should upgrade the design of the price board or not. It looks a bit old-fashioned.
What color is it?
It's red. I was wondering if white looks better.
It's hard to tell unless we see it in person.
Okay, when can the construction team come and start their work?
Well, we are currently working on another project, but we think we can finish the work there sometime in June. So we can come before July. And it depends on how much time you have for the renovation project. If it's quite urgent, we'll need to discuss the starting time.
We hope to start early, but it's not too urgent. We will wait till the end of peak season.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the peak time right now. So who should I contact for the initial check and evaluation?
You can call my manager. His name is Clifton Barron.
Excuse me, how do you spell his first name?
Cliffton.
And his phone number?
It's 093036602. You can call during work hours.
Got it. As for the contract details and the cost of the project, should I contact him or...
Yes, you could talk to him for all these details.
Okay, thanks.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Part 2. You will hear a man talking to a group of people about the Melbourne Zoo. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Melbourne Zoo. My name's Mark, and I'd like to welcome you today. If you have a moment, I'd like to give you some information about our zoo before you enter. Please feel free to ask me any questions at the end of my talk. As you know, it's November now, and that means longer days. I have some good news for you. Anyone who hates getting up early in the morning can now enter the zoo after dinner. Because of the time of year, we are offering a 2-hour mini tour after 7 p.m. Seeing the animals at a different time of day will be a fascinating experience for many of you, and I encourage you to sign up. Unfortunately, due to a fire last month, we no longer allow bonfire nights. By the way, we have been planning 2 parties for Christmas next month. We'll post the details on our website. It should be a lot of fun. So let me tell you a little about our residents here at the zoo. Despite what was recently reported in the media, the most popular animal around here is not the kangaroo or even the sheepdog. No, our star animal here is without doubt the koala. They are sedentary creatures and can sleep for up to 20 hours a day, so you'll have to keep an eye out for them. You should be able to spot some of them in the treetops hiding behind branches. But if you're lucky, you might see one run across your path. Of course, we do have kangaroos. They are truly fascinating creatures. It might interest you to know that they are the only large animals that use hopping as a means of locomotion. They are generally very friendly, and while we have no problems with people feeding them, we always tell our guests that it's important to stand with an upright posture when giving them food. The kangaroos may interpret you bending over as a sign of aggression, so please be careful. Also, no matter how cute the babies are, any physical contact should be avoided. The adults are quite protective of their young while they are still in the pouch, so please refrain from the urge to give them a pat. They aren't greedy animals and will generally stop eating once they are full. So, if you have some extra food, you might need to find another one to feed. As you may have heard, our wild dog pen is temporarily closed, but it should reopen soon. You'll be happy to know that our dogs are all fine and in good health, and I think they are quite excited about their new home. Right now, we are fixing the fences. They are wild animals after all, and we need to consider public safety before opening the exhibit. But please come back to see them when we are finished. Speaking of return visits, if you enjoy our zoo and want to come back, you may be interested in getting a discount ticket. We used to sell them at the entrance of the zoo as well as on our website, but the website is currently under maintenance, so the coupons are available only at the cafe near the gift shop for this year. So, if you're interested, make your way over there once you are ready. Be informed there are a lot of tourists around today, so the earlier, the better.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, if I can bring your attention to the map of our zoo, I'll provide a brief description of the grounds so that no one gets lost. If you'd like to see some of our animals up close, then you should visit one of our shows in the arena. We have a show every half hour, so you're sure to see something. We are at the entrance. To get there, cross the bridge and go straight to the end of the path and you'll find it to your right. For those who are looking for a quieter place to learn about the history of our zoo, in the north of the zoo we have an educational hall ready for you. It's easy to find, just to the west of the toilets. With such beautiful weather right now, I know many of you would love to spend the afternoon having a picnic. There is a great spot for you in the zoo. It's the area surrounding the Botanic Garden and it's also facing the river. The view is fantastic there. Some of you may recall that our photo printing site was in the northeastern corner of the zoo. It has now been moved to the building next to the bridge. Finally, I'm sure you've noticed that it's quite warm today. If you're not up for walking, don't worry. We have bike sheds at different locations across the zoo, and the bikes are free for our guests. So just grab one and take it for a ride. Once you've got your bike, it's only a 5-minute ride to the gift shop, and the exit is just beside it. You can't miss it. Please note that cycling is only permitted on the designated paths. All right, that is the end of my talk. I hope you have a great time visiting all the animals. Take as many pictures as you like and don't forget to share them with your friends. Now, does anyone have any questions?
That is the end of Part 2. Part 3. You now have 30 You will hear two students named Amy and Mike discussing Maori carvings. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Mike. Aren't these New Zealand carvings we've been studying in class fascinating?
Oh, hi Amy. Oh, the Maori greenstone tikis. They're all a bit organic for my taste. You know, all curves and twisting shapes. I like modern stuff, geometric shapes. But I can see the skill involved in making them.
But the stories behind the tikis are what make them interesting. Besides, I imagine it would be difficult to create geometric patterns. The shape of each tiki seems to follow the natural contours of the stone. It's extremely hard, and it requires expertise and time to shape.
That's true. I suppose that's why modern greenstone carvings are so expensive. But there aren't that many genuine old ones around. Archaeologists rarely discover such treasures, which is odd given they are such a huge part of Maori culture. I wonder if archaeological dig sites were raided and the tikis were taken to sell.
I believe it's because the owners valued them, and so preserved them. Many of them would have been passed down through the generations and remain in the possession of the families today, like heirlooms. Do you know what they were used for?
I thought they were just an art form or a means of decoration. But Professor Mathieu says that the Maori believed tikis were sacred and could be used as a pathway to their ancestors. They believed the dead could speak to them through these talismans.
So they don't represent tribes or anything? Interesting. How many different kinds are there? There must be hundreds of variations.
There are other greenstone carvings beside tikis, although I can't remember all their names. Traditional tikis themselves can be divided into two distinct groups though.
Can they? By the materials? I've seen some with metal features. Or is it to do with size, or where they were made?
Actually, it is the ways that their feet, heads and hands are placed that make the major difference.
Is it easy to discern the difference between the ancient stones and more modern reproductions? Are the styles very different?
Modern reproductions usually use a different type of stone, although they may be of the same design. They may also be of a smaller size. But it's actually quite easy to tell if you are buying a genuine carving or a mass-produced souvenir.
How?
Nowadays, they are produced by machine, using lasers even, so they have no blemishes. In genuine carvings, they aren't always perfect, because the Maori used simple hand tools. For example, the hole that the cord is fed through isn't perfectly round.
That makes sense.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 26 to 30.
Actually, it's amazing that they produce such detailed tikis with such simple tools and materials. Talk me through the process. I know the basic shape is carved from New Zealand greenstone.
Yes, but first they had to get a blank of the right size.
You mean a piece of stone of the right size and basic shape?
That's right. They used a hard stone tool, something rough, to wear a groove into a piece of greenstone. After they'd scored it with that, they could just snap it in two. I guess they could have used some kind of hammer though. They repeated the process until they had a piece of stone suitable for what they wanted to carve, usually flat pieces for tikis.
Right, because they're fairly small and quite thin. Then they started carving?
Not right away. Before they could start carving, they needed an absolutely smooth, flat surface. Nowadays, when we want to do something like that, we'd clamp the stone in a vise and use a sander. But they used a heavy block of sandstone and rubbed the piece of greenstone on it, over and over, to prepare it for carving.
It must have been very time-consuming. So how did they cut out the little details, like hands and feet?
They had carving tools. They used small chips of stone glued and tied onto a wooden handle. Then they also used a piece of sharpened bone made into a point.
Is that what they used to make the holes?
Actually, they had a special tool to make holes. It was a stick tied between two heavy pebbles with a point at the end. They would wrap string around it, pull it back and forth to wear a hole into the tiki. They used the same technique to make round shapes too, but didn't make the hole go all the way through.
And I've seen some tikis with coloured eyes or decorations. Are they painted?
Mostly they are inlaid with different coloured stone or mother of pearl from shells, or sometimes dyed pieces of bone. They were fixed in place using tarata gum, a sticky plant resin. They used plants to make the natural strings too.
That's right. The Maori were very resourceful, weren't they?
They certainly were.
You will hear part of a lecture for students about suburbs. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
In the beginning of human civilization, there were no cities. There were just small settlements. They grew with time and became villages and towns. Then, at a certain stage when the size became big enough, we call it a city. So, what about suburbs? Generally speaking, a suburb is a mixed-use or residential area existing as either part of a city or as a separate residential community within commuting distance of a city. Some small towns near a big city were absorbed by the city and became its suburbs. Many labor workers, such as carpenters, construction, and factory workers, live in the suburbs of the city. They usually have a lower income than the middle class and can't afford the expensive houses or apartments in downtown area. They live in the suburbs where the infrastructure is poor and the rent is low. Interestingly, you may also see wealthy residents, most of whom are highly paid engineers, lawyers, and doctors, enjoy their life in the suburbs. They live in the expensive neighborhoods, which are located in the nicer areas. They usually have a very big house and a garden and a garage. Traditionally, many people think that living in the suburbs is less convenient than living downtown, where there were supermarkets, shopping malls, and other facilities. These facilities are not concentrated or even available in the suburbs. Sometimes, people there have to travel for half an hour to get to the nearest market or grocery store. Actually, there are many good things about living in the suburbs. For instance, people pay relatively low taxes than people in the city, so they can have a more disposable income. And food is cheaper than those in the cities. Many people have noticed that vegetables and some kinds of fruits are usually produced in the suburbs or transported to the suburbs first before they reach the city. Because of lower taxes and other beneficial policies, it's much easier to start one's own business in the suburbs. For instance, open a cafe or set up a shop. That's why we can see a lot of startups in the suburban region. It could also save a lot of money and effort. Because of the ever-increasing population, now you can see many large-scale housing areas constructed in almost all city suburbs, as there is no room for new apartment buildings or houses in the cities. Outside of many big cities such as London, there are big residential areas. Also, the roads are designed and built much later, so they are usually much wider than the roads downtown. This will provide greater mobility for suburban residents. They can travel faster from one place to another since there are fewer traffic jams, despite the growing number of automobiles on the roads. This is one of the reasons why more people are moving out of the city these years. Yet, the suburbs are also facing some troubles in its development. Many suburbs are usually occupied by houses and residential areas. As a result, there were not enough room for trade activities. Even some supermarkets and small restaurants are suffering from this. People usually have to drive a car to the nearest grocery store. This warns the urban planning department to improve their work and have the vision to think ahead of time. I think you might be interested in an interview that we did with some residents in the suburban area of London. Their opinions can give us a picture of what suburban life is like compared to life downtown. Jack Simmons is an office worker who lives in the western suburbs of London. Through his observation, he thinks that although there are few public gyms or clubs, and it's not convenient to travel to the town for fitness classes, people in the suburbs actually do more exercise, such as jogging and swimming. So, he concluded that the suburban folks enjoy a much healthier lifestyle compared with their city counterparts. When we interviewed Ellen Simpson, a housewife who lives in the northern suburbs, she told us that living in the city center is a nightmare. She said the city center is always congested with both cars and people, and she could not stand it anymore. Though many of her friends live in the city and people are generally friendly there, she still prefers to live in suburban areas and has adjusted to living here now. We talked to an engineer named Robert Gregory, who works downtown and lives in the suburbs. In his opinion, the architectural style in the suburbs is quite the same as that in the city nowadays. Besides, people in the suburban area also pursue goals that are similar to the ones pursued by the people in the city. Also, people in the suburbs don't seem to be more satisfied with their life. Sarah Godfrey is an English teacher at a school in the city. According to her, people in cities are not necessarily less friendly than their counterparts in the suburbs, but the latter always smile. They go to the parks and have gatherings more often. These activities are important in improving life quality and the level of happiness.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet.